Hello and welcome to the Everyday English Learning Podcast. I'm Jake. It is fantastic to have you joining us for another episode where we don't just learn English, we live it. Whether you are listening on your morning commute, at the gym, or relaxing at home with a cup of coffee, we are here to help you improve your listening skills and vocabulary in the most natural way possible.
And I'm Lily, very happy to meet you all. Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating topic. It is something that sounds a bit terrifying to some people, but absolutely liberating to others. Jake, I have to ask you before we reveal the title, when was the last time you did something completely on your own without waiting for anyone else?
That is a good question. Does going to the cinema alone count? Because I actually enjoy that. But I have a feeling you're talking about something much bigger than just watching a movie, right?
You guessed it. Today, we are diving deep into the magic of solo travel. We are not just talking about booking a flight in a hotel. We are talking about the experience of navigating a new city by yourself, the confidence it builds, and yes, the inevitable challenges that come with it.
That is a brilliant topic. You know, in the world of learning English, this is actually crucial. Many of our listeners learn English specifically because they want to travel. And often, when you travel alone, that is when your language skills are truly tested. You don't have a friend to hide behind, you have to order that food, ask for directions, and solve problems all by yourself.
Exactly. It forces you to step out of your comfort zone. And that is why our listeners should really care about this episode. Beyond just learning words like itinerary or accommodation, we want to explore the feeling of independence. We want to discuss why stepping into the unknown is actually the best way to discover who you are. Plus, we'll be sharing some very practical phrases you can use if you ever find yourself wandering the streets of Paris, Tokyo, or New York alone.
Right, so whether you're a seasoned backpacker or someone who's nervous about eating lunch alone in a restaurant, this episode is for you. We are going to look at the psychology behind why we travel, how to overcome the fear of loneliness, and the incredible connections you can make with strangers when you are open to the world.
It's about turning loneliness into solitude. There's a big difference, and by the end of this podcast, we hope you'll feel ready to pack your bags, or at least ready to talk about it confidently in English. Are you ready to get started, Jake?
I was born ready. Let's get moving. Now, I want to take you to a specific moment. Close your eyes for a second if you are in a safe place to do so. Picture this. You have just stepped off a train in a city you have never visited before. Let's say it is somewhere in Europe, maybe Florence or Vienna. The architecture is old and beautiful. The streets are cobblestoned, and the air smells like roasted coffee and rain.
That sounds magical. I can almost hear the sound of suitcases rolling on the pavement and the chatter of people speaking a language I don't understand. It is a symphony of noise, isn't it?
Exactly. It is a symphony. But here's the catch. You are completely alone. You look at your phone and the battery is low. You look around and there is no familiar face to turn to. For a split second, there is this cold feeling in your stomach. It's a mix of panic and excitement. You realize that no one here knows who you are. You could be anyone.
I know that feeling so well. It's that moment of absolute anonymity. In our daily lives, we are defined by our jobs, our families, or our friends. You are Jake the podcaster, or you are Lily the teacher. But standing in that foreign square, you are just you. It's terrifying, but it's also incredibly freeing.
Right, and let's deepen the scene. You decide to go to a restaurant for dinner. This is the part that scares people the most. You walk in, the waiter approaches you and asks, "Table for two?" And you have to smile and say, "Nope, just a table for one, please."
Oh, the table for one stigma. I used to think everyone was staring at me, thinking I had no friends. But actually, let's flip the script. Imagine sitting at that small table by the window. You have a glass of wine or sparkling water. You aren't distracted by conversation. Instead, you're watching the world go by outside. You notice the way the streetlights reflect on the puddles. You notice an old couple holding hands. You actually taste your food because you're fully present.
That is the shift we want our listeners to think about. It's moving from feeling awkward to feeling observant. When you're alone, you become a sponge, absorbing the culture much faster than if you were chatting with a friend.
So, listeners, I want you to think about a time you had to do something alone that you usually do with others. Maybe it wasn't a trip to Europe. Maybe it was just going to a coffee shop to read a book, or attending a workshop where you didn't know anyone. Do you remember that initial hesitation before you walked through the door?
Hold on to that memory. Remember how your heart beat a little faster. But more importantly, remember how you felt when you left. Did you feel a little bit taller? Did you feel a sense of quiet pride? That is the essence of solo travel. It's not just about the destination. It's about proving to yourself that you are capable of navigating the world on your own terms.
And if you haven't done it yet, imagine a place you've always dreamed of visiting. Visualize yourself there, not with a tour group, not with a partner, just you and your backpack. What's the first thing you would do? That's the mindset we're bringing into the rest of this episode. We're going to give you the language tools to handle that table for one with total confidence.
All right, now that we've set the scene and everyone is imagining themselves in a cozy cafe in Paris or hiking a mountain in Peru, let's break down the language you need to describe these experiences. We used a few interesting words earlier, and I want to zoom in on them.
Definitely. The first concept we touched on is really the heart of this topic. It is the difference between loneliness and solitude. These two words are often confused, but they have completely opposite emotional weights.
Right. Loneliness, Loneliniess, is a negative state. It is the pain of being alone. It implies a lack, a feeling of isolation or sadness because you want company but don't have it. But solitude, that is beautiful.
Solitude, Solitude, is the joy of being alone. It is a positive state where you are content with your own company. It is peaceful. So when you travel solo, you are seeking solitude, not loneliness. Listeners, try to say that word with me, focusing on the calm feeling it brings. Solitude.
Perfect. Now, moving to the practical side of travel, when you plan a trip, usually you have a document with all your flight times, hotel names, and activity lists. Lily, what do we call that?
That is your itinerary. It is spelled Itinerary. It's basically your travel plan or schedule. However, Jake, the best thing about solo travel is that you don't always have to stick to the itinerary, do you?
Absolutely not. In fact, that leads us to my favorite phrase for today, play it by ear. This is such a great idiom for native level English. To play it by ear means to decide what to do as you go along, rather than making a firm plan in advance.
I love that phrase. It sounds so musical. So instead of saying, I have a strict schedule, you can say, I haven't booked anything for Tuesday. I'm just going to play it by ear. It implies flexibility and a sense of adventure. It means if you meet someone interesting who suggests visiting a hidden museum, you can just go.
Exactly. And when you decide to just go and leave the main tourist areas, we use another fantastic phrase, off the beaten path. Imagine a path in a forest that everyone walks on. It's beaten down, flat, and easy. Going off that path means going where the crowds don't go.
Yes, getting off the beaten path helps you have authentic experiences. It's finding that little noodle shop in Tokyo that has no English menu, or a quiet beach in Thailand with no resorts. It's about discovery.
Now, let's talk about the internal feeling again. We mentioned fear earlier. There's a phrase we use when we face a fear and do something anyway. We say, take the plunge.
Like diving into deep water. Take the plunge means to commit to a course of action that is momentous or challenging. So buying that solo ticket, that's you taking the plunge.
So we have a powerful toolkit here. We have solitude, the joy of being alone, itinerary, the plan, play it by ear, improvising, off the beaten path, avoiding crowds, and take the plunge, committing to the adventure.
Let's practice these together. I'm going to say a sentence, and I want you, our listeners, to repeat it out loud wherever you are. Don't be shy. Here's the first one. I enjoy the peace and quiet of solitude.
Good. Now let's try the idiom. This one makes you sound very natural. We didn't have a plan, so we decided to play it by ear.
And one more for the adventurers. I love traveling off the beaten path to meet locals.
Excellent work. You know, simply using these phrases changes your mindset. Instead of saying, I'm lost, you're exploring off the beaten path. Instead of saying, I'm disorganized, you're playing it by ear. Words shape our reality.
They really do. And there's one more word I want to throw in before we move to our practice dialogue. It's serendipity. It's a slightly advanced word, but very poetic. It means the occurrence of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way, like finding money in an old coat pocket or bumping into an old friend in a foreign country. Solo travel is full of serendipity.
That is a beautiful note to end this vocabulary section on. Serendipity. It's the reward for taking the plunge. So now that we have these words locked in, are you ready to see how they sound in a real conversation?
Okay, listeners, we have the vocabulary, we have the mindset. Now it is time to put it all together. Words are useless if they just stay in your head. We need to see them living and breathing in a real conversation.
That is right. So Jake and I are going to do a role play for you. I want you to imagine this scenario. I have just returned from a 2-week solo trip to Vietnam, a beautiful country with amazing food and culture. Jake is my friend meeting me for coffee to hear all about it.
I'm the curious friend who is a little bit jealous but also very proud. Listen carefully to how Lily uses the phrases we just learned. Try to couch expressions like play it by ear, off the beaten path, and take the plunge. Ready, Lily?
Ready when you are.
Lily, welcome back. Look at you, you're glowing. How was the big solo adventure?
Oh, Jake, it was absolutely life-changing. Honestly, I'm having a bit of trouble adjusting back to reality. Vietnam was incredible.
I bet. So, did you stick to that crazy detailed itinerary you showed me before you left, the one with the color-coded spreadsheets?
That thing, it went out the window by day 3. Honestly, once I got to Hoi An, I realized I was rushing too much. So I decided to ditch the schedule and just play it by ear.
Really? You, the queen of planning? That surprises me. So what did you do instead?
Well, I met a local artist in a coffee shop. We started chatting, and she told me about a small fishing village that wasn't in any guidebook. So I rented a motorbike and went totally off the beaten path.
Wow, riding a motorbike in Vietnam alone? Wasn't that terrifying?
It was. At first, my hands were shaking, but I told myself, Lily, you are here to grow. So I just took the plunge. And guess what? It was the highlight of the trip. The scenery was breathtaking, and because I was alone, I wasn't distracted. It was pure solitude, not loneliness.
That sounds like a movie. But did you have any moments of serendipity? You know, those happy little accidents?
Yes, actually, when my bike got a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, a family came out, helped me fix it, and invited me in for dinner. We didn't speak the same language, but we laughed for hours. That never would have happened if I had stuck to the itinerary.
Incredible. I think I need to book a ticket now. Okay, let's pause there. That was a fun conversation. Listeners, did you catch how natural those phrases sounded? It wasn't just a list of words, they described a feeling.
Let's look at the first key moment. Jake asked me about my itinerary. Notice how I didn't just say I didn't follow it. I said I decided to play it by ear. This phrase is so useful because it sounds relaxed. It shows that I'm in control, but I'm choosing to be flexible. If you say, I have no plan, you sound careless. If you say, I'm playing it by ear, you sound adventurous.
That is a great distinction. And then you talked about the motorbike. You said you took the plunge. Why did you choose that phrase instead of just saying, I decided to do it?
Because decided to do it is neutral, but took the plunge carries emotion. It tells the listener that I was scared, I hesitated, but I overcame that fear. It adds drama to the story. If you want to be a good storyteller in English, you need phrases that carry emotion.
Exactly. Now I want to ask our listeners a question based on the dialogue. Think about the answer in your head or shout it out. Question: why did Lily say she experienced solitude instead of loneliness during her motorbike ride?
If you said because she was enjoying her own company and the peace of the moment, you are absolutely right. She wasn't sad about being alone, she was appreciating the beauty around her.
Let's look at one more phrase: off the beaten path. In the dialogue, Lily found a fishing village. This is a classic example. Listeners, can you think of a place in your own city that's off the beaten path? Maybe a park that tourists don't know about? Keep that place in mind. Next time you invite a foreign friend out, say to them, "Let me take you somewhere off the beaten path." It makes you sound like a true local expert.
Now, let's do a shadowing exercise. I'm going to say one of the longer sentences from the dialogue again. I want you to listen to my intonation, how my voice goes up and down, and try to mimic it exactly. Here's the sentence. I decided to ditch the schedule and just play it by ear.
Listen to how she stresses the word ditch and play. Try it.
I decided to ditch the schedule and just play it by ear. One more time, faster, like a real conversation. I decided to ditch the schedule and just play it by ear.
Fantastic! I can hear you from here. Using the right rhythm is just as important as using the right words.
And finally, the concept of serendipity. In the dialogue, my flat tire led to a dinner with the local family. That is the perfect example. It seemed like a bad thing, the flat tire, but it led to a beautiful connection. That's the magic we're talking about.
So we've heard the words in context, we've analyzed the feelings behind them, and we've practiced the pronunciation. You're building a solo travel narrative. You're not just learning English, you're learning how to tell your story.
And remember, you don't need to be in Vietnam to practice this. You can have a serendipitous moment in your local supermarket. It's all about how you look at the world.
So, Lily, we have talked a lot about Vietnam, planes, trains, and motorbikes, but let's be honest for a moment. Not everyone can pack their bags and leave tomorrow. Most of our listeners are probably driving to work, sitting at their desks, or washing dishes right now.
That is very true. And this is where the magic really lies, Jake. You don't need a passport to have the solo travel mindset. The skills you learn from being alone in a foreign country are actually the exact same skills you need to succeed in daily life.
Can you give me an example? Let's take the concept of taking the plunge. How does that apply to someone who is, say, working in an office in Tokyo or studying in Seoul?
Think about a networking event or a big company party. Usually, we cling to the coworkers we already know, right? We stand in a safe little circle. That is like staying on the tour bus. But if you decide to walk over to a group of strangers and introduce yourself, that is taking the plunge. You're traveling solo in a social setting. It is terrifying, but that is where the opportunities are.
I love that analogy. It is the social equivalent of eating alone. It builds that same muscle of confidence. And what about playing it by ear? In business, we are often told to have a 5-year plan.
Plans are good, but life is unpredictable. Sometimes you lose a job or a project gets canceled. If you panic, you are stuck. But if you have practiced the art of playing it by ear, you adapt. You say, okay, the itinerary changed. What is the new adventure? It turns a crisis into a pivot. It's about resilience.
I think about language learning itself as a form of solo travel. When our listeners try to speak English in a meeting for the first time, they are stepping off the beaten path. They're leaving their native language, their comfort zone, and exploring new territory.
Oh, absolutely. And just like on a trip, you will make mistakes. You might get lost in a sentence, but that's okay. That is how you find the serendipity. Maybe you say the wrong word, everyone laughs, and suddenly the tension in the room breaks. You have made a connection through vulnerability.
I want to go back to the idea of solitude versus loneliness one more time. In our modern world, we are constantly connected. Phones, notifications, emails. We are never truly alone, yet many people feel lonely.
This is the most important application, I think. Learning to be happy in your own company is a superpower. If you can go to a park on a Sunday afternoon, leave your phone at home, and just sit there watching the trees, finding peace in that solitude, you become much stronger emotionally. You stop needing validation from likes or comments.
It recharges you. It implies that you are enough just as you are. You don't need a travel companion or a digital distraction to feel complete.
So, here's a challenge for you, listeners. This week, I want you to do one solo date. It doesn't have to be expensive. Go to a museum by yourself, go to a new coffee shop, and don't bring a book or a phone. Just sit and observe. Be the traveler in your own city.
Observe how you feel. Do you feel awkward? Do you feel bored? Push through that. When you get to the other side of that awkwardness, you'll find a strange sense of freedom. You might notice things about your own neighborhood that you never saw before because you were too busy talking.
And who knows, you might experience some serendipity. You might meet someone new, or you might just have a brilliant idea because your mind finally have the space to think.
So the takeaway is, don't wait for a vacation to be adventurous. Be adventurous today. Take the plunge in that meeting. Go off the beaten path on your walk home. Embrace the solitude.
Life is the longest trip you'll ever take. You might as well enjoy the journey, even the solo parts.
Wow, time flies when you are having fun. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the streets of Europe to the fishing villages of Vietnam. But before we let you go, we need to make sure these words stick in your long-term memory.
That is right. Research shows that you need to hear a word several times in different contexts before you truly own it. So let's do a rapid fire review. I'm going to give you the definition or the vibe, and Jake and you, our listeners, have to shout out the correct word or phrase. Are you ready, Jake?
I was born ready. Let's do this.
Okay, number 1. It is that peaceful, happy feeling of being alone. It's not sad, it's empowering. What is it?
That is solitude. Remember, solitude is joy, loneliness is sadness.
Correct. Number 2. This is the document where you write down your flight numbers, hotel addresses, and times. The plan you think you're going to follow.
That is your itinerary, but don't be afraid to throw it away.
Exactly. Which leads to number 3. What do we say when we decide not to use the plan? When we decide to improvise and see what happens in the moment?
We play it by ear, like a musician improvising a jazz solo. You just feel the moment.
Perfect. Number 4, you want to avoid the crowds. You want to see the real culture, away from the tourist traps and souvenir shops. Where are you going?
You are going off the beaten path. That's where the best stories are found.
Number 5, you're standing on the edge. You're scared to buy the ticket or scared to talk to that stranger, but you take a deep breath and do it anyway. You
take the plunge. You dive right in.
And finally, number 6, because you took the plunge, something magical happens. A happy accident, a lucky connection you didn't plan for.
That is serendipity, my favorite word of the day.
Great job, Jake, and great job to everyone listening. I hope you got all of those right. But Jake, simply knowing the definition isn't enough, is it? How can our listeners keep practicing these after the episode ends?
Great point. Here's a specific technique for this week. Narrate your day. Since our topic is solo travel and being alone, use your time alone to talk to yourself. I'm serious.
I do this all the time. It works.
When you're walking to the bus stop, say to yourself, in your head or out loud, I'm walking off the beaten path today. When you're deciding what to have for dinner, say, I don't have a plan. I'm going to play it by ear.
Exactly. Contextualize it to your own life. If you have a journal, write a short paragraph about a dream trip you want to take. Use all 6 phrases in that one paragraph. If you can fit itinerary, solitude, and serendipity into one story, you've mastered this lesson.
Language is a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So take these words out of your pocket and use them. Make them yours.
And remember, even if you're just practicing in front of a mirror, you're building the confidence to use them with a real person one day. That's the goal.
Well, friends, we have reached the end of our journey for today. We have packed a lot into these 30 minutes, from the definition of solitude to the excitement of riding a motorbike in Vietnam. I hope your mind is buzzing with new words and, more importantly, new ideas.
I really hope so too. You know, preparing for this episode reminded me of why we do this podcast in the first place. Learning a language is very much like solo travel. It can feel lonely sometimes. It can be scary when you don't know the right word or when you feel like you are walking off the beaten path without a map.
That is such a true comparison. There will be days when you feel like you are just stumbling around. But remember what we talked about today. Those are the moments where you grow. Every mistake you make in English is just a flat tire on the road to fluency. It is an opportunity for a story, for connection, and for learning. So don't be afraid to take the plunge. Speak up, even if your voice shakes a little bit.
Absolutely. We want you to leave this episode feeling brave. Whether you are actually planning a trip or just navigating your daily life, carry that spirit of adventure with you. Embrace the silence of solitude. Look for the serendipity in your grocery store run. The world is a fascinating place if you are willing to open your eyes and really look at it.
And we want to hear from you. We are not just talking into a microphone, we are building a community here. So head over to our social media pages or the comment section below this episode. We have a question for you. If you could buy a plane ticket to anywhere in the world right now and go alone, where would you go?
Oh, I can't wait to read those answers. I bet we will see some amazing destinations. Maybe someone will inspire my next trip. And please, if you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. Maybe someone who needs a little nudge to step out of their comfort zone.
Next week, we are going to switch gears completely. We will be discussing the art of small talk. How do you start a conversation with a stranger without talking about the weather? It's going to be incredibly practical, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss it.
Thank you so much for lending us your ears today. Remember, every day is a chance to learn something new. Be kind to yourself, be curious, and keep practicing.
From everyone here at Everyday English Learning, have a fantastic week.
Safe travels, everyone!
Goodbye.